Hey, what up? It's your boy. Sexism is bad. I think everyone can agree with that. I know I just sounded like an AI starting off this video, but that is the topic we will be talking about today. But although as much of a serious topic as it may be, and a lot of cultures are still combating the illnesses that is sexism, there are some countries who have obviously learned that it is definitely a bad thing and we should avoid it at all costs. But Japan has done an interesting move where they have maybe accidentally committed sexism. Because there is a CNN article that I was linked to, and the title alone just made me chuckle. Japanese city apologizes after advising pregnant women to cook, clean, and give husbands massages. Man, CNN knows how to make a really good clickbaity title because I am hooked, and I found this and thought it might be an interesting article to read through. So let's read it through, shall we? How is it possible that in 2023, a city like Japan, a hyper-capitalist, progressive in lots of weird but also regressive in lots of obvious ways kind of country, may have potentially accidentally committed a form of sexism? There's nothing a new mother likes more than being told how to please her husband, right? A Japanese city learned the hard way this week how very wrong they were after prompting a national outrage over flyers that tried to do just that. Onomichi City in Japan's Hiroshima prefecture, which is funny because we've actually been to Onomichi before. In fact, if you've watched the cycling special of Trash Taste, that's the city we started the cycle in. So that's the kind of vibe of city, if you watch that video. But they conducted a public survey in 2017 that was used to create flyers for pregnant women, later distributed to local residents, according to the city government's website. There are differences in the way men and women feel and think, one flyer reads. I mean, yes, but we don't have to read it on a fucking flyer. We get it. One of the reasons for this is the structural difference in the brains of men and women. It is known that men act based on theories while women act based on emotions, which is so not true. There are lots of women who act based on theories and are very meticulous and calculated in a good way. And there are lots of men who are very emotional. Very, very emotional. In fact, we've seen a rise of that in the past couple of years due to the COVID pandemic and this new generation. These kinds of stereotypes, sure, might have been true 100 years ago, when the sex differences weren't as easily distinguished and researched enough or cared about for that matter. But in 2023, no, this is already quite off the mark, if you ask me. The important thing is to understand each other's differences and divide roles well, it added, before stating that husbands and new fathers like to be thanked for carrying out basic tasks such as washing the dishes, changing diapers, and holding their child. What is this, the 1950s? What the fuck? Okay, look, I don't think there'll be any husband or father out there who won't like to be thanked for doing anything. But is it a requirement? Is it something that, the women have to be consciously thinking about? Can the men not do the same for the women as well? You talk about understanding each other's differences and divide roles well. Well, how about you understand the differences and maybe divide roles not based on the gender, but more so on just personal choices? For example, in my home, Aki and I, my girlfriend and I, have split up roles very differently. There are some weeks where I will do the things she usually does and she will do the things that I do, and it's basically just kind of a who gets there first type of thing. If one of us realizes that the bathroom is dirty, then whoever the one who found it, myself or my girlfriend, will be the ones to clean it. I think that's how roles should be divided all the time. Of course, naturally, say for example, if it is a pregnant woman and their working husband, then the husband is obviously going to be out of the house a lot more often, so those roles will have to be done by whoever is at home, in this case, the pregnant woman. But, I mean, it's not I don't understand this idea of the father went out of his way to wash the dishes for you. You should give that motherfucker a medal. He just did a fucking valiant effort right there, while the women at home have to do it all the time anyway. I don't know why, this flyer thinks that making the husband out to be this amazing hero of the world is a valid thing, because it's certainly not. Wives may irritate their husbands if they are busy taking care of the baby and not doing chores, the flyer said, advising women not to get frustrated for no reason. What? I mean, first of all, that's just wrong on all fronts. Like the whole thing of like husbands getting irritated for not taking care of the baby and not doing the chores. Sure, like, you know, if like the house is a complete like explosion of a pigsty and the baby is dead, then yeah, I'm sure the fathers will be irritated. But as long as like the bare minimum is done, I think most dudes would be pretty happy with, you know, their housewife. You know, like I think most men will be like, hey, you know what, it's all right, but also make sure to take care of yourself as well, because you have to raise our kid, and, you know, or you have to birth our child, you know, if you're pregnant. So like, hey, it's all good if you don't have the energy to do it. I completely understand. I'll go do the washing, just don't forget to give me a fucking medal. And also this whole thing of like advising women not to get frustrated for no reason, when literally 2 paragraphs before you say that women act based on emotions. So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to get emotional? Do you not want them to get emotional? Like, you're kind of contradicting yourself there already. Pretty ironic, in my opinion, that a flyer is telling women not to get frustrated for no reason, when the flyer itself is a reason for women to get frustrated. It concluded that there are many things new mothers can do to please their husbands, including giving them massages, preparing their lunch every day, handling the childcare and housework, greeting them with a welcome home, and always having a smile on her face. Dog. That is Stockholm Syndrome if I've ever heard it. That is not a happy life to live. Like, always having a smile on her face. So basically the flyer is saying, just huff copium. Get a whole jug of copium. That's your quota for the day. Huff that shit and everything will be hunky-dory. Never mind anything about making sure to take care of your physical health. Never mind about taking care of your mental health. Never mind about making the husband understand that this is a 2-part effort, not a 1-part effort. You know, none of those things though. None of that kind of actual helpful information and reminders on this flyer. No. Apparently this flyer has time traveled from the fucking 1940s to be like, this is how every couple should be like, which is so gross. It's so gross, dude. Local media reports this week drew attention to the flyers, with social media promptly erupting in a rage, anger, and disbelief. It's bad enough that local authorities are transmitting the idea that childcare is the mother's job and that a third-party father's assistance will help the mother, one person wrote on Twitter. I would like local authorities to raise awareness that fathers are also main actors in childcare. Facts. This woman spitting. Stress is the enemy during pregnancy, so why exactly are they only attacking women, another person wrote, pointing out that childbirth takes a heavy toll on women's bodies. A letter from an experienced mom to a new dad would probably be 100 million times more helpful. And yes, again, that is also facts. I'm so glad that there are actual Japanese people living in Japan who are fully Japanese who also realize how disgusting the contents of this flyer are and how disrespectful it is to women. The city's mayor published an apology on the local government website on Tuesday, saying the flyers were not in line with the sentiments of pregnant women, childbearing mothers, and others involved in child rearing, and caused unpleasant feelings for many people. They're basically doing like a Logan Paul-esque, like, I have made a serious lapse of judgment, which, you know, apologize all you like. The fact still stands that at one point you thought that this was a good idea, when really it should have been kept in the drafts, bro. Some online users have pointed out that as stunningly misogynistic as the flyers are, they represent the reality of Japan's outdated gender norms and the unequal burden placed on women. One reason that has been cited for the country's continually falling birth rate. And yes, that is unfortunately the truth. And again, I think that comes in and it coincides with the whole thing of like, Japan is also an aging population, which means there are more older people and older couples who are still alive who are still stuck in the past with these kinds of gender roles and gender norms, which, you know, anybody can point out, and any younger people can point out in this generation, that those gender norms are over. Those gender norms were deemed unfit for the new generation, who want to have more freedom, who want to just be able to coexist with one another rather than being dependent of one another. The flyers in the public survey it was based on mean that this is what men really think, one person wrote. Most men think that childcare is someone else's business. Wives are supposed to do the housework, don't neglect looking after their husbands, don't upset their husbands, you better not get married. And yeah, that's probably also another reason why marriage rates in Japan are also going down, let alone childbirth rates. So yeah, I can totally see why this would be an enormous social pressure on younger women who are thinking to start a family to be like, well, hang on, I really hope my husband is not one of those motherfuckers who thinks that this is okay, because then there will be no childbearing happening whatsoever. Japan remains a largely patriarchal, conservative society that was ranked 125th out of 146 countries in the World Economic Forum's latest Global Gender Gap Index. 125th out of 146 countries. That's shocking, but also I'm not surprised at the same time. Again, the fact that you see articles like this in 2023 coming from Japan is just like solid enough proof, solid enough visible proof that this gender gap problem is really prominent in this country, really prominent, to the point where it is messing so many things up for Japan. And again, I think the moral of the story is, men, especially in Japan, or people who are going to be in father roles in Japan, need to be educated on the fact that these gender norms and gender roles from the past do not coincide with the norms and roles of today. And I think it's really important to understand that, again, it's all about a coexistence, not a self-dependence. Hell, I'm not even married, I don't have a kid yet, and even I know that shit already. So how the fuck do these older men who are probably fathers and potentially grandparents themselves not understand this concept? It genuinely is mind-numbing to think about. So yeah, it's a real problem. And a problem that I hope eventually Japan will be able to tackle. Again, with how slow moving Japan is when it comes to cultural shifts and cultural changes, it's probably not going to happen for a while, probably not for another whole generation or two, but hopefully, at least in our lifetimes, we'll be able to see maybe some kind of improvement. That's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what I'm hopeful of. I want to hope that this was just a freak accident, and other government authorities or any misogynistic people looking at this realize that this might potentially be a bad thing, and these might be norms and ideologies that we should throw away into the bin, because otherwise you are going to be laughed at and shunned at and crucified by the modern day community, like this situation has wrought on. So yeah, those were my 2 cents on that. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, I didn't read all of the article in this video. I will leave the article in full down in the description if you'd like to check it out. But hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack my face right here. Subscribe to the channel. Let's keep making big channel never go bigger. And over here next to my head is a couple more videos you can check out if you enjoyed this one. Links to my social media as well as my Patreon to support me directly. And also my clothing brand, nonsense.jp. Grab the drip because it's not going to last, down in the description below. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.